Indiana House Democratic Leader Scott Pelath from Michigan City, Indiana Senate Democratic Leader Tim Lanane from Anderson. They will both make a few choice remarks and then we will take your questions. Leader Pelath, please.
Good evening, everybody. Well, Mike Pence believes that a governor should do very little, and he's succeeding. Mike Pence clearly looks like a governor. He has the soaring rhetoric of a governor, but on a night like this, I wonder if he really likes doing governor. He identifies a number of problems in Indiana, problems that we all identify. I think we have to agree that his solutions are simply not equal to the tasks ahead. We have household incomes that lag badly behind our fellow Americans. We have one of the widest wage gaps between men and women here in the state of Indiana. We have hundreds of thousands of Hoosiers who go to bed every night in fear of a medical bankruptcy. We have a middle class that's falling behind, and we simply don't hear the types of solutions that indicate a seriousness about dealing with what ails Indiana. And I think most troubling is that while we understand that there's many great things about our state, and we love our state, we don't ever hear that our state can do much, much better, and that we have real problems that deserve real solutions. I also believe, and I know Senator Lanane will talk a little bit about the business personal property tax, but again, we've seen that he's doubled down on something that really the leaders of one of his houses led by his own party has already rejected, and that's the elimination of business personal property tax, which simply is a jobless tax cut. There is no indication that will bring one paying job to Indiana, and we certainly know that it will risk the pocketbooks of homeowners, of consumers, and people in need of very essential local government services. I also can't help but note that he had one last opportunity to douse the flames of this marriage debate here in Indiana. And instead of using the bully pulpit to help us set this issue aside so we can move on to what our real problems are, he took the opportunity to lead us even further into that particular conflagration. And that, I believe, is the most regrettable part of the speech. Senator Lanane.
Thank you, Leader Pelath. I would have to agree. I think, the governor, the speech itself was fairly unremarkable. As legislators, we come to the state of the state hoping that we're going to hear some bold ideas and leadership in terms of how to address the real problems that the state faces. You've talked about those real problems. They're front and present. They're right here. And many Hoosiers are suffering from low income. Our state's too poor. That's a major problem. When your state's too poor and when your state's too unhealthy. And both of those are major issues. The governor mentioned them in a sort of tangential way, but he did not offer any solutions on how we're going to move our state ahead to address those issues. And that's the major problem that I saw with the speech. The governor seemed to engage, and it's not untypical for a State of the State address to, want to portray the state as being a state of rosiness, you might say, but you don't want to be in a state of denial. And the fact of the matter is that we have real challenges when it comes to the fact that we are something like 40th, 41st in the nation in per capita income. And the fact that when it comes to the health of our citizens, we're 42nd in the nation, 42nd worst in the nation. And those are real problems. We need real solutions. We just simply didn't hear that tonight. In that regards, I have to say that I was, wholly underwhelmed by what I heard from the governor this evening. It was a speech that when at the end of it, you're looking for details, you're looking for specifics. I didn't see those there at all. You talked about the personal property tax. It sounds great to say, let's cut taxes. Everyone's in favor of that. But when you're talking about a tax that if you phase it out completely, it's a $1 billion hit to the state of Indiana, the real question becomes, how do you do that? I wrote that down 3 times when I heard him giving a speech about personal property taxes. How do you do that? How do you do it without shifting that burden of taxes to somebody else? And if you shift it, which you'll have to do it, to whom do you shift it? Those are the big questions that we didn't hear answers for. Also, do you decide there's going to be an impact to local units of government. Where are they going to take that hit? They're, as you put it well, I thought one time, Leader Pelath, they're cutting the muscle now in their budgets. So again, a lot of, to me, when I listen to the speech, and I compliment the governor, he always delivers a speech which is fairly well done. But at the end of it, I felt like it raised more questions than it did answers.
Abdul.
Thank you. Scott, on the issue of the marriage amendment, it seemed like the governor said that he was open to leaving in domestic partnerships, but said there should be some finality to this debate discussion.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to
Yeah,
that?
he wants finality before the 2016 election is what he really means.
Let me answer that too. If he wants to open the door to civil unions or domestic partnerships or whatever, then he's going to have to amend that resolution and take out the second sentence, because that causes all of the confusion in the world. And clearly, right now, you could not have civil unions underneath that provision in the resolution. Actually, if he was going to show bold leadership on that issue this evening, he would have said, I'm asking the General Assembly simply to bypass that whole issue and work on these other things. You know, his speech was 85–90% dealing with other issues, not the marriage amendment. I'm finding this to be a common theme, by the way, by the members of the Republican Party. They seem to be wanting to run from this resolution, which they have written and they have proposed and they've put forward. They own this resolution. But now comes time, it's not the most important issue for them. The governor barely mentions it. If he wanted to show bold leadership, he would say, you know what, it's time for Indiana to make history. We will not deal with this resolution.
Representative, you said at the outset that the governor lacked seriousness about governing. Can you elaborate on that, and what way are the bullet points that he laid out not?
He identifies large problems, and then the solutions he proposes are extremely tepid. I mean, we have a deep jobs problem in Indiana. We have a deep income problem. Our people are not prospering like they could. And we see very modest solutions that, if they're solutions at all, even partial ones, they also come along with some harm. And I don't think there's anybody in this state looking around them and thinking about how we can do better, rolls out of bed, said, you know what the secret is? The business personal property tax. Okay, I'm fairly certain that that's not what is on most people's minds. They know that they need health care. They're worried about what's going to happen to their job. They're worried about whether their paycheck is going to stretch far enough to be able to pay for their children's education. And they worry about if their kids are going to want to stay in Indiana after they paid for it. So that's what the issues are. And instead, what the governor too often likes to do is propose small symbolic measures that create the illusion of addressing matters.
Thanks. God bless every one of you. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful evening. Go Pacers.
And one last thing, have a Hoosierific evening. Okay.